What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Sports Card CEO, where we talk collections and connections in the sports card hobby. Matt Ham, Eric Mandelkern, and Bubba Wilson. Fellas, what's happening?
What's going on?
It is.
Watch out, folks. Kern is on fire this morning. It's going to be a fiery episode.
I'm angry, man.
Oh, we got the flamethrower on this morning, friends. Well, listen, guys, it's been awesome. We continue to thank our listeners for tuning in. I want to remind you guys, if you are enjoying the podcast, please give us a follow on whatever source that you listen to, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. Also, it's great if you would leave a review there. It just helps other people get eyes on it. So, fellas, we kick off every week with our week in the hobby. Bubba, you're in slot one. Fire away.
Well, on the personal side is baseball season for baseball, Major League Baseball, but it is baseball season in the Wilson household right now. Travel ball season officially starts this weekend. First two tournaments from our older boys. So it's practice every single night. I have three boys playing baseball, two in travel ball. So it's every single night, literally every single afternoon. But just, I love baseball. Love to see spring training back on. Boys are at night instead of watching YouTube shorts. They're out there watching spring training on Major League Baseball channel. And it's just been it's been drinking from a fire hose, but this is the kind of drinking from a fire hose you want as a dad. From a hobby perspective, most of the time I'm talking about what I'm buying, right? And I'm still buying like I always do. I'm finding my shots. But I'm kind of reorganizing a little bit. I'm reorganizing on who my names are, what those names are going to be going forward. Why am I compelled to buy that person? I've kind of reassessed my list, and I've started the sale process as well of stuff that I'm to reclassify. I needed to get rid of some stuff. And I has it started with a bang. Baseball is up over 10% now, by the way, which is so exciting to me to see green numbers continue to fly up. The market is red hot. And I had a gigantic sale this last week. The Ellie Superfractor that I sold for $50,500 on Fanatics. I bought that card, boys, from Golden in December for $19,500. And so, again, $50,500. Bought it for $19,500 in December on Golden, and Fanatics with the big W there. I made them over $30,000.
Congratulations. I'd say you can retire, but you already are retired.
Well, what's funny about it is, and that'll be part of the show today is as well, we can touch on, is just like those kind of wins are awesome to celebrate, but sometimes it really is. Like, I was on the fence on buying that card. When Kern, you and I were texting that night. We were texting. And we were like, man, it's too low. It's just too low. And it's funny how even though baseball was hot in November and December, there can be those nights and those moments where everybody else is sleeping on a card or a player or baseball. And it just happened to be that magic night where I picked up that card and a couple other really big cards. And it's just fun in the hobby sometimes. And I tell my kids to do this in sports, like, you got to celebrate the win sometimes. So for me, I'm celebrating that win this week whenever you have a big win on a card like that. And thank you, Fanatics Collect. That was a huge, huge sell for me and really kicked off my week in the hobby in a great way.
So, Kern, Bubba's buying dinner. So Kern, you've already said you're on fire, man. Tell us why you're mad.
Man, I'm on fire. First off, do you guys hear these sirens outside my window? I mean,
no.
That's a good thing.
You're on fire. They're coming to put you out.
It's wild, man. Yeah, they're coming to put me out, man. Look, from a personal perspective, I had a busy weekend. We moved finally, so we're getting all settled in now. Nice to be in the new place, year and a half in the making. We're happy and comfortable, and the kids are happy. So that's good. But yeah, this week, man, like I don't even know where to start. I'm just like, I'm angry with the hobby this week. Like, I'm angry with specifically in like the baseball world. I'm just angry. Like, again, it all comes back to, I have two friends that just constantly say like, oh, when Kern's angry, he must be trying to buy a super. And they're like it's the constant joke of like, Kern's trying to buy a super, he's angry. And, the Christian Moore super hit this week, and it was in KK. And I don't want to make this sound like I'm bitching here. All right. But it's just like, I gotta get to this because somebody tagged me, or one of the breakers texted me that hit it. And he's like, hey, come in the room. I go in there. I'm like, oh, who hit this? Tell me who hit it. Like, let's cash you out, start talking to him. And, I make an offer. And then I'm looking in the chat. And I see people I've mentioned this before, but I see people throwing out numbers. This card is $80,000. This card is worth more than CAGs. He's got the highest ceiling of anybody in the draft. He's got this. And it always drives me nuts when people throw these numbers out because they get in these guys' heads. And it makes it, obviously, from a selfish perspective, it makes it tougher for me to make the purchase, right? And I don't lowball. Like, you guys know this. Like, I don't lowball. Like, yeah, I want to get the car that I want at like a good price and a fair price, but like, I am not a lowballer by any means. Like, I pay strong if I'm confident, like, in the guy and in the card. Like, I'll pay stronger than anybody out there. Somebody asked me what I think it's worth. I said I think the card is, probably worth $25,000 to $30,000. That was my take. Somebody's like, you're crazy. Like, this card does $75,000 easily on Golden. Easily. I'm like, explain how that's possible. Explain. I'm not saying it's not going to do that, but explain. Like, what was the last superfractor to sell for more than $90,000 publicly of a prospect, And I sold the Roman Anthony at 62 and change, right? Maybe I sold short, right? The CAG sale isn't real. That 80K sale was not real. Burned. Somebody's telling me I will pay 40 for this tomorrow. I'll go to the bank in the morning. But I'm not a dick. I don't like to F people over. So I'm going to advise them to go to Golden. Oh, you're going to advise? That's so nice of you. You're going to advise them to go to Golden instead of get the card you want at 40K. Like, if you're not paying this, if you don't have a wire ready to be sent, you are in no position to tell somebody what the value is. If you're not a buyer for that card, you're in no position to tell somebody what the value is. And I tell that to guys that hit cards all the time. If your best friend who you think knows the high-end market tells you this card is worth $60,000, ask him, is he willing to pay $60,000? If the answer is no, then the card is not worth $60,000 yet, unless somebody who has money ready to go says it's worth $60,000. And I'm not saying this guy on the stream doesn't have the money, right? But then to kind of backtrack and say, but I'm not a dick and I don't like to F people over, insinuating that, and this guy knows some of the cards I have clearly, and I don't know who this guy is, and he's a clown, so I don't care. But he then tries to take a dig in the chat and says, the Cheerio Super just sold for $78K. This card is way better than that. It's like, dude, he's like, tell me you're a clown without telling me you're a clown. And that's Topps Chrome Super. Like, get the hell out of here, dude. So then I get a screenshot yesterday. That was 2 days ago. I get a screenshot yesterday from a friend that was in the chat. Same kid. Same guy says, they're talking about the value. And all the screenshot says is, well, Kern offered $5,700 plus a food stamp for the card. Plus food stamps. So I'm like, all right, that's pretty good. But so now I have this reputation from this guy and other people that I'm this cheap guy, And like, do I really care? No, but it bothers me. Like, who the hell are you? And this guy hiding behind his identity, like, come out and show yourself, man. Come out and show yourself. Like, it just freaking bothers me. Aside from the fact, I'm going on a tangent here, guys, but I needed to vent, so I appreciate it. So it's being hoarded out again. It was being hoarded out again by the same guys that hoard out the CAGs, and they don't own the card, and it just doesn't make any sense. Telling me you have $45,000 fake offers. Like, that's not real. Like, Gary, I'm sorry, but you and I'm not saying there's not other buyers out there. That's ridiculous. It would be ridiculous of me to say. But we're in this world where we know who a lot of these buyers are. The person who put a $45,000 offer on the Christian Moore Super, right? And that's not good enough. Where was that person when the Leo was put out there? Where was that person when the Bazana was put out there? Are you telling me that person didn't want to pay $45,000 for the Leo Super? Bullshit. Yeah. Bullshit. Well, you'll pay for the Christian Moore Super. Like, we're not stupid. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm just angry. People are just stupid.
How was the rest of your week? I think is what our followers are wondering.
I'm sorry, everybody out there. I'm sorry to you guys. Like,
hey, Bubba, Bubba, Kern is feeling verklempt. We need to talk amongst ourselves.
And I'm not mad. I didn't get the card. Okay, I don't want it that much. I really don't. I really don't. But I'm mad at the people that think that they just know everything. And I know it might sound like I think here and I know everything, and I don't, but I know a hell of a lot more than most of you about the high-end supermarket.
Well, when this is And when we get through Matt here in a second, we should come back to this because I got a take on this that I wanna hit on when we're done. So Matt, did you have a happy week, Matt? What was your week like?
I did. We had a wonderful, happy week. A good week here for Ham House. I lead a faith and business gathering every month in Wilmington and Raleigh. That was this week. We had record numbers there. We had like 50 folks in Raleigh, like 30 in Wilmington. So that gets me out in the community, man, gets me to connecting with people. I actually had the opportunity to speak last weekend. So I was doing the thing that I love to do, which is speak. I love being in front of crowds and speaking. And so I got to do that 3 times this week. So that fills my cup. On the family side of things, we are in the basketball playoff mode right now, which if you guys know, when you're playing normal sports, it's bad enough. But when it's playoff time and there's a little plastic trophy involved, buddy,
let's go.
Now we are really intense. And so, yeah, it was funny. There was like parents and players yelling at each other last night. And I'm like, what is going on in the world around us? But super pumped because today, little Matt and I are actually going to Charlotte, North Carolina for the Charlotte Card Show. So it is our first in-person card show since the first of the year. And we have stacks and stacks.
Yeah.
Turn them around. Turn them around. Let's see what we got.
He's hiding them.
Wrong side. Y'all
I
might
see
know.
some Walker.
Yeah, Walker soda. There's, all kinds of goodies, and there's some Shohei in there.
Why is there not a Connor Griffin in there? I've been trying to buy that thing privately from little Matt, and he is really making me fish on this one.
He's holding it tight. It's actually on the top of this stack. There's the Connor
Well, that's
orange.
the one I wanted.
Yeah. So, no, we've got the show this weekend. So we're looking forward to that. Honestly, we're in a pretty heavy inventory space for Ham House's traditional inventory hold. We intentionally decided to hold some prospects into spring training, which we'll talk a little bit about that later in the show. But yeah, pumped about that and excited to kind of dive into card show world. Little Matt is like at school right now going, Dad, we got to drive. We got to go. I got to get there. He's like got cash burning a hole in his pocket.
Is he in the passenger seat the whole way, just like on Instagram making deals? I could just, Dad, we could get this.
Dad, yes. I'm like, buddy, we're getting ready to go to a show, and you're wanting to spend $6,000 on this card on the drive to the show. I was like,
we'll flip it to 65 when we get there.
Just relax, bro. Just relax. So it's good. We've actually got a buddy of ours who gave us some stuff to consign for him, and he's got some really cool like 90s basketball stuff, some Jordan inserts or whatever. So we're going to have a pretty cool table, man. We'll have high-end Bowman, and then we'll have this really interesting kind of 90s basketball stuff. So I think we'll get a lot of attention, and we'll certainly fill you guys in on the next show about that. But Gary, back to Kern's little super thing.
Well, and I just had a thought before I even hit that. So I didn't put this in our topics for the week, but it just hit me because we've talked about it before. And I know it's top of mind for you too, Ham, because you're in this space. And Kern, I don't think you're into this stuff, crypto really yet, from what I recall. But what I think is really intriguing right now from the card space and just where we are in general right now is that the two in the stock market and finances have always kind of correlated a bit. They've always kind of correlated, though, that the stock market, how crypto is doing. Well, Bitcoin has been getting slammed, and crypto in general has been getting slammed. And what I think is starting to happen is people are realizing that the return right now on cards may be actually the best place for your money to be. And that's really an odd thing for me to say after the last 2.5 years of being in this space and getting beat up pretty good. That's really changed in the last 6 to 8 months, 9, maybe even 12 months. Things have kind of started to really come back home for the card space. And what's interesting is I was really wondering how, with baseball ramping up, crypto going down right in that time, honestly, it was like, man, maybe I need to be kind of watching this a little further. It has not slowed people down. And that tells me that people have a lot of inventory. They're going to continue to buy. They're going to continue to keep that money in cards because I'm being honest with you. I mean, if you asked me this morning, do I want to have some money in crypto? I do. I think it's going to come back. I absolutely do. But I'm looking at that now more of not as that it's going to come back tomorrow. That may be 6 months, maybe the fall, maybe a year. Cards are right now. Baseball is right now. And we know football is going to come back this summer. We know in the next couple months, people are going to get excited about the draft and what's going to happen there. But baseball over the next couple months, and I think Kern, what's happening to take this full circle with the super is I think it's a monkey see, monkey do world. And they see these supers, they see the flash of them. They see the big posted sales and they want a piece of it. And so then they're like, oh, I'll pay that for this because I saw this sale. But it goes back to what's going to be really interesting is the more that supers now become publicly auctioned on a regular basis and big cards become publicly brought to the table, which I know there's some really big cards coming up here and some auctions. Got word yesterday about even some other really big cards. I think, Pete, we're going to really test this water. We're going to really know here the next month ahead, like, what are these cards worth? Has this market changed? Because I do think that there is a chance. I do think that there's a chance that it's changed. It's changing quickly, that people are like, they're wanting to chase it. Now, all of a sudden, the super may be it obviously was the biggest chase before, but I think people were scared to go there. And now they're seeing some performance and they're like, I got to get there. And you see that it's so much in this space. And so wanted to get y'all's take on that because it's what it feels like to me. It feels like people finally feel comfortable to chase it.
I mean, I think this has been going on for a long time. Like, I'm talking specifically people in chats when a card is hit saying this is worth X. Like, I think it's just people, whether it's a breaker or people in the chat. But when you say they're seeing the performance, do you mean as far as how cards are performing on auction, or you're talking about the player,
I'm talking specifically at auction and what people are hearing on the private side, because what I'll tell you people are doing since I sold the Caminero bought the Caminero a while back on PWCC. That was when the market was at its bottom, right?
Yeah,
I purchased that card
at
the bottom. Nobody was wanting to buy it. Everybody was sleeping on it. They were scared. People were just frankly scared to spend money in the space. Since that moment in time to today, what has that been, a year? That's 1 year ago, okay, that purchase was made. Look how far we have come. Even from last summer, where all of a sudden you're hearing about Jackson Holiday Super and Corbin Carroll Super, and you hear about all these sales, but you never see these sales. Well, now all of a sudden, all I'm hearing on a regular basis is supers are can't miss. They're can't miss. Oh, you're buying his best card. You can't miss. Well, here's the news flash. You can miss. And you can miss really, really, really bad.
The same risk is still involved there.
If you pay $80,000 for Christian Moore, I'm going to tell you right now, the chances that you will ever see $1 of that back are damn close to zero.
Yeah, and look, I will say this. If that Christian Moore sold on auction for $80,000, I'd be very happy. I'd be very happy. I know a lot of supers.
It's great for the market.
It's great for the market.
Yeah.
I just don't legitimately see it doing that. Whether people are buying into it or not, I don't see it doing that.
What's funny about the whole thing with the crypto and the cards, whatever. The interesting thing about cards is they are a tangible asset, right? Like, you can touch them, hold them, see them, whatever. Like, they're tangible, and that has some value to people. Like, when you look at store of value, like in the world around us, something like $13 trillion is stored in art. And there are people who get off on like saying, oh, look at that piece over there on the wall. It's worth this. We're those people with cards.
Yes.
And there are many other people. And so when you have this supply and demand, it really is interesting. We went to the RIP night at our local card shops here. Dude, the line was out the door. Like, there are more people coming into this space and they're learning the space and getting more educated. And so the fact that there is this competition over these supers or whatever, although it can be unfounded, to me, it kind of shows this supply and demand issue or whatever, which, to your point, Kern, is good for the market. But the thing that's super interesting about this is, with crypto, there are the people that believe that this is a store of value long term. Then there are the people who are speculating in the market. The market movers are driving it down. The cards are no different, right? Like, you can't tell me right now that you're not going to buy a nicely graded centered 1953 Mickey Mantle and not be able to hold your asset long term in that. Now, if you want to be more risky and speculative, hey, Connor Griffin's crushing the ball right now. He's doing great. So, hey, throw your hat in the ring there. But the flip side is like for little Matt's getting burnt out on the crypto thing because he's like, well, Dad, it's not going up immediately, and I can go and make 10, 20, 30% on a card flip. I'd rather have my money over there. So he's wanting to cash out and get back in the market here. So it's super interesting what you're saying. And I think it's very, very valid of what we're seeing right now in the space.
Well, when you see, and this is how I, in my entire life, and I'm not an old man yet, but I will be soon, but I've seen a couple things over the last 20 years of being in business and being around money. And what I'm seeing right now, and this is when I know something has the potential to fly. I saw it with crypto the last year and a half, is when you see the general population, my mom, my dad, my wife's mom, dad, neighbors, elderly, going, what is Bitcoin? I think I might buy a piece. And it's, can I have one of those coins? And when you start to see that, then you go, okay. Now, if they're asking the question and it's on Fox News and it's on CNN and they're hearing about it, then it's intriguing. Well, I'll tell you what Fanatics has done, and they've done a great job with Topps, and they have brought media to this space. And the media to this space has awoken a beast, because I was sitting this weekend. I just had a big estate sale a couple weeks ago. Those guys are traders, okay? People that are estate sale buyers and sellers, they are the ultimate traders. Every one of them that came in when they knew I was in baseball cards started going, what is going on in this baseball card world? What is going on over here? Or when you go to practices and you see people, there's dads asking, hey, what about this? And I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. We are in the middle of the biggest opportunity in the baseball card space, I think, for the next 20 years, because we were the generation that got to collect this. And now our kids are here. And then there's going to be this, as we're continuing to collect, then there's going to be this next generation that comes behind it. At that estate sale, I was selling Model T cars that I had bought from the previous owner and some old cars. And those cars' value is about a fifth of what they used to be 15 years ago. You want to know why? Because the people that were buying them have died. So there's not the same buyer. Now, when their kids come back around one day, or their grandkids come around, it'll probably come back. As you've seen old trucks and cars and stuff like that. With baseball cards, we are at that moment. Baseball cards hit death, right? Because there was this death of generation time there where it was like, that was it. We're back. We are back as an industry. And that's what I'm excited about, is when you see the masses going, hey, what is this? I want to dip my toe in this. That's when you've got something. And so that's why I'm excited about sports cards again right now.
Let's cut that and print it. That is Gary 101, the hype video, baby.
Gary, the car salesman.
Yeah, I love it. Dude, that's so true, though, man. I definitely jive with everything you said there, man. That was awesome, and I wholeheartedly agree, which is why it's so fun to do this, because I think we get to be on the front end because we are educated. We've kind of been in it, and now you've got this massive flood of people coming in. Like, we are the resource for those people. You know what I mean? I think that's what's so exciting about the show and what we get to do. So, guys, so moving on to today's topics, we want to touch briefly on baseball is back. Per Gary, it's back. We're here, guys. The Eagle has landed, and we are spring training. So let's talk briefly about spring training and then kind of close up with a couple of stories today. So, Gary, kick us off. What are you seeing in the spring training world?
Yeah, so, what I want to provide today, and I've been trying to do it a little bit to Ham and Kern, is I'm a box score guy. I'm a box score junkie. I wake up in the morning. I used to be a Sports Center junkie as a kid. Now I get on my phone, I'll do my daily morning Bible reading, and then I like to get on there and I like to look at box scores from baseball.
Bible and baseball.
Bible and baseball, baby. And so I love box scores. I love to kind of go back and check that out and see what guys are doing in spring training. And so I've just really, for me, I'm just going to run down a quick list of notable players so far. Guys that are tearing the cover off the ball right now. Leading the list, Robert Hassell from the Washington Nationals with a .571 batting average. Small sample size. Everybody's going to blast me on the comments. Robert Hassell, you're talking about Robert Hassell. Guys, this is a small sample size. I get it. I'm saying that early, but I'm going to come back to this in a minute. Robert Hassell, .571. Lawrence Butler. Dude, I think that kid's for real. .556. Yeah, dude can play. My Ellie, by the way, I mentioned him earlier. Ellie's blue sold big at Fanatics as well. Ellie's stock right now is pointing way up. 2 bombs right off the rip. Marcelo Mayer. Where's Marcelo been? Everybody's sleeping on Marcelo. Yesterday in a real major league game, he would have hit for the cycle. I don't know if y'all saw that yesterday. He was 3 for 3. He had the cycle yesterday in a real baseball game. They cut it short. Matt McClain. What happened to old Matt McClain? Got injured. Everybody forgot about him. Y'all remember Matt McClain?
I love Matt McClain as a buy right now. I love him.
Way too cheap. Everybody forgot about him with the injury. Pete Crow ripping the cover off the ball. Pete Crow stocks pointing up. Dylan Cruz ripping the cover off the ball. Another guy that people have forgotten that exists, a mammoth of a man, Kevin Alcantara for the Cubs.
Yeah.
Yanquiel Fernandez, Lazaro Montes Jr. right there, essentially, and Yanquiel Fernandez, big bomber. Michael Toglia, okay, this guy right there, Toglia, for the Rockies, by the way, is on most people's breakout list this year for the Rockies. Guys had a little bit of a problem with batting average, but super giant power. And then at the bottom of the list, Roman Anthony getting it done in spring training right now. So that's kind of a quick who's tearing the cover off the ball. I'm going to roll through a couple other quick names. Corbin Carroll's hit 2 bombs. Brett Beatty, another name we haven't talked about in forever, 2 bombs. Cam Smith, 2 bombs in his first 2 at bats, I believe. Samuel Basayo with the bomb.
Do you see that bomb yesterday? Basayo hit? Oh my God.
He actually said that's one of the furthest 3 baseballs I've ever hit.
Really?
Dude's a mammoth of a man.
My gosh, yeah.
Sebastian Walcott
That's
with a
good.
bomb.
Who's that? Who does he play for?
The Oakland A's.
Junior Caminero with a bomb, but also hit some RBIs. Bryce Eldridge, mammoth of a man with a big bomb, over 450 feet. Basana with a 443-foot home run. And then I'm going to roll through these names. These are other guys of note. Leo getting a cup of coffee. Was a couple hits already. Riley Green looking good so far. Another name that was a huge prospect years ago. Looking like he may break out this year. Boy Spencer Jones with a bomb, a massive bomb. Jordan Lawler with a bomb. Lazaro Montes getting a cup of coffee. Another guy, and this name I saw last night and I wanted to share with the show, Everson Pereira, who I don't understand why, if this guy was on many other teams than the Yankees, he's in the major leagues right now. And he's going to have to get shipped somewhere. There's nowhere for him to go. But Everson Pereira can play baseball, so I just wanted to share that with everybody. He can hit a baseball. Ceddanne Rafaela, I love Ceddanne this year. I mean, I think the Red Sox in general are going to be better. This is a quick thing we may touch on after. Churio was batting leadoff yesterday. Did y'all see that? That was interesting.
Yeah.
Churio in the leadoff spot. Another little under-the-radar guy, Hector Rodriguez of the Reds, 20 years old, got his first cup of coffee hitting in minor league spring training yesterday. My boy Gino Groover getting a look. The Diamondbacks giving him a look, as well as Demetrio Crisantes for the Diamondbacks, both of those getting a cup of coffee. Kyron Paris batting .500, a forgotten guy a couple years ago. Kyron Paris for the Angels. He's getting his chance.
The guy who came out in Topps Chrome every break.
Dude, he may end up being the starting second baseman there at that team. Another guy that I know Kern loves, J.J. Weatherholt, looking like he's already getting a chance, can hold his own. Hunter Griffin getting a cup of coffee. Jesus Mate, they gave him 1 at bat. But, hey, 17 years old, you're getting a Major League Baseball look. Pretty impressive. And then Josu getting it done yesterday. So I know that was a long list, folks, but I mean, to me, that's what's exciting about spring training.
Yeah.
You see these names that we haven't seen.
It's
and
exciting.
I just want to share this thought. If we think that some of these guys don't know how to play baseball, they were once a top prospect for a reason. Zach Veen, Robert Hassel, and they get slept on a little bit. Those may be some of the best buys of the entire Bowman world right now, because their value has gotten crushed. They're like a stock that has gone down that used to trade at 50, that's at 5.
Yeah.
And so it's a low risk option. If you're one of those guys that's going, hey man, I've only got $500. I want some high opportunity pickups. Maybe you look at a Hassel blue or a Zach Veen blue, or you look at a Yanquiel Fernandez blue, because those are ways you could get in some of these names. And if one of those hits or 2 of those hits, make some serious money.
The first week of spring training is where hype is built. That's where hype is built. Like, this is it. And Gary, all those names you mentioned, I kind of, it's so fun looking at the box scores now and watching when you can, I guess. But there's one other guy I want to mention that broke out yesterday with a huge bomb, Ryan Clifford, the Mets organization. I think now that he's going to be starting in AAA or AA out of Brooklyn, and he'll be in Binghamton. Brooklyn is one of the hardest places to hit. He's got some serious power, Ryan Clifford. So I think look out for him this year. Brooklyn is a tough place to hit, and he's out of there. So I expect a big year out of him.
It's really interesting what you talk about is like this time in baseball really sets the stage for the hype. You can see MLB Pipeline and all these different people starting to post on Instagram now. And I mean, it can simply be this guy was taking batting practice and people were like, oh my God, batting practice.
Exactly. Look at those bombs.
Yeah, and so, who I am super glad to see is Samuel Basallo. I know, as he says.
There you go.
Samuel Basallo. I'm so glad to see that because everybody's talking about him being generational from a hitting perspective, massive power. He's doing really well behind the plate defensively, but he got slept on a little bit. And for example, little Matt could not do the 1 minute today because of our schedule this week, but there was a comp on a gold last night at Gold PSA 10 at like close to 2,100, whereas the last one was like down to 17. And so, and we have a gold on eBay and got offered 19, and then the comp went higher. And so when you see him hit a bomb, when you see people posting on him, that's a guy, it's a perfect example of his gold can literally go from 17, in my opinion, to $3,000 in a month because he's going to start to get that hype. And if he continues to hit in spring training, he's likely going to debut in AAA, and he's going to get the call up later this year. So you can go through Gary's list and you can pick off some of these guys and you can see a really quick return because the energy's here.
Well, the gold's worth more than that anyway right now. With the orange going for 3.4, I mean, a 9.5 orange. I mean, I think a gold all day long is 2,500 at call up. What do you mean at call up? Just quick conversation on that. Realistically, he gets the buzz, he gets a call up. 3,500?
Yes.
That's where it was at one point this summer.
Yes.
I mean, I sold mine on eBay at 3,900.
Yes.
In the summer.
Yeah. And so I think that you're going to see a lot of guys like that who have that potential to climb real quick.
Can we talk about that for just a quick second? This selling at call up, like what's the price of call? Because I was having this conversation with somebody the other day and they were like, it was about Roman. And he was like, do I sell at call up? My initial thought is like, I always hate selling at call up. Like, I don't think that's the time to sell because the market just gets flooded and you have people undercutting each other on price looking to get rid of this, that people did get in cheap, that people that did get in cheap are okay making a small profit or just getting out because they think it's, the end and the only time to sell this guy. And everybody, if the market gets flooded, they end up undercutting each other on price, at least within like the mid and low range stuff, So I hate selling at call up. I think there's a window before call up and where you kind of feel that they're going to be getting called up and that's the time to move. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Ham, I'll let you offer yours first.
Yeah. So I think it really depends on the player because the hype around the player has a lot to do with when the timing is. It's kind of like Gary said, when you hear grandma talking about something, that means it's getting through the channels. So you've got guys, that you see this hype in their AA promotion or even before that. Like it could be they're going from the DSL to, low A, high A, and then you see the AA call up. You have to follow that track. And when everybody's talking about that guy, I think that's when you start to liquidate. Now, I do think call up provides an opportunity because it's like crypto, right? There's this idea of retail driving the crypto market, people speculating, and then all of a sudden when it hits the street as actual utilization, like this is a technology that's being utilized in the business space, now it goes massive, right? And so the question is do you believe you have a guy who has actual long-term utilization in the big league? And then you can weather the storm through that early peak. Take Gunnar Henderson, early peak, number one prospect, AA, AAA thing, hype, right? Then he leveled out through that rookie season. And then all of a sudden, what did he do? Massive utilization, all-star, potential MVP conversation, boom, back up. Bobby Witt's another case. So you have two peaks to sell at, in my opinion. One is that early season, early promotion hype. And then one is actual utilization in the big league.
Yeah, it's just supply and demand, though, with the call-up thing. So it's like the supply is through the roof at call-up. Right. So it's just, I'm not disagreeing. It just doesn't make sense when there's the supply is high. How does the demand? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me why. Like I've never seen peak prices at call up for multiple cards. Like one person gets lucky or two people get lucky on their cards. And then it's just like from there. Gary,
Well,
we got.
Well, I honestly, guys, I wish it was this simple that we could tell our listeners that, hey, it's just really this simple, but it's not. Guys, I mean, I've got right now, and I've struggled with this a lot, unfortunately, and I'm getting better at it. Honestly, I think this show has even helped me get better about it, because I think every week I sit down and I go, what do we talk about? And I've learned things from both of you over the last several months. You know, I've gotten better at knowing when to sell, I think, and learning to take smaller gains sometimes and always going for the home run, because I have lived both sides of this. I have lived where I have sold them at call up. I've learned to hold them through the call up. I've sold them at some peak attention. I sold them post-peak attention when it's gone back down here. So I've sold at every level. And so I honestly think it goes back to what you said, Ham. I don't think that I think it is totally dependent on the player. If we just use a player, for example, in Basayo, okay? Basayo got some hype about a year ago. The price hit at the highs, right? Now here we are, and the stock has just continued to go down here on the card price, but the player has done nothing to justify that,
Exactly.
right? So if you're talking about me selling Samuel Basayo right now, hell no, I'm not selling. Why am I selling a guy who has shown me a peak, has shown that he has gotten attention, has shown he can play baseball, but his cards are gone down? So, but the reality is Basayo could be that guy that gets the call up at the absolute worst time of any baseball player can get it. And it's that dreaded September call up.
It's the worst, yeah.
And everybody's getting called up. Everybody's trying to keep track of what somebody's doing. And really, it's almost like you lose the luster of that call up. And the reality is Basayo is one of those guys that could happen to. Very well could be that kid this year. But what has changed, and I have seen this in the prospect world, is people are starting to overlook that. They're starting the next spring to digest that call up. They're starting to say, okay, this is actually who Basayo is. That wasn't the case in the downturn. It was, what can I flip? How quick can I flip it? It is truly now, what are you holding? And in my case, Roman Anthony, I didn't believe in it. So I sold into the hype. Roman Anthony come on the show, prove me wrong, buddy, in a year, say, what do you think now, brother? Like an Evan Carter moment at me. You were my fuel, Bubba. So, but I didn't believe in him. So I sold out of Roman Anthony early, okay? The hype was there on him. It was like you said, Ham. It was just the time. I felt like, man, his cards are selling off the charts. It was time. But sometimes you get that wrong, right? Like Bobby Witt, I had his stuff all the way. I bought it on the downturn. I bought it at that Basayo downturn, right? And then it continued to go lower after the call. And I sold it. Then I was like, oh, no, what do? I got all this Bobby Witt. Is he a good player? Is he not? And I sold it. And now I've cost myself $1 million, you know? And so it's just that simple sometimes, where I think you have to truly be able to analyze that player. And here's the guy for me right now. And I'm all in on this guy. And I'm saying it again. Y'all have heard me say the name. He's going to get no buzz. Okay. We've already buzzed him up a little bit because we think he's a good player. But he's going to get no buzz because he's injured right now. So we won't see much of him during spring training. We probably won't see just a little bit of him before Major League Baseball starts. James Wood. And I could have sold James Wood in a moment in time and taken a little off of the highs because I owned a lot of it then, and I could have taken some small gains. But I believe James Wood, that when a James Wood blue was selling a PSA 10 a couple months ago at $1,200, and Ellie De La Cruz is selling at $4,300 today, I think he has the kind of value to be, and I'm not even saying he's got Ellie value, but I'm saying he's at least half of Ellie, okay, of what his potential is, and if not more. And so I'm a long hold. I've just decided I'm already invested. I'm here. I'm taking the ride with you, James. I'm taking the ride. Junior Caminero, similar scenario. I believed in him. Jackson Churio, I believed in him. Those were my big three. Those are my biggest three holds. Full disclosure, cards on the table, but it's been those three guys. And now what I'm starting to do on the back end is go, okay, I'm at that aha moment with these guys, right? In the next 12 months, 24 months, we're going to know if they're the real deal or not. I'm going to be out of those guys most likely in the next 24, unless I hold some forever. But now I'm building the next 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 guys that I'm going to take the ride with.
Don't tell our listeners yet, Gary. We need to have a phone call.
Well, that to me. So the answer to the question in my mind, it is just not that simple to say is call up the right time or not. Because I'm going to tell you, if James Wood was that guy that got a late call up last year, His true call up in my mind right now is this year.
Spring,
This spring right here.
100%.
This is the call up moment. So I think there are 2 call ups and there are 2 opportunities. And so I'm banking on the fact that this one for him, he's going to show that he is what he is that this is going to be more the moment.
We're going to go ahead and kind of wrap up today's show. You guys have any final thoughts?
My final thought is this right now. I mean, inventory, I've been shooting it from the rooftops. Inventory was low, and it still has been, but inventory is starting to pick up. And I'm starting to see people, now is the time, if you got a guy you believe is going to pop off in minor league baseball, in Major League Baseball, this is the time to dip the toe, because when he starts ripping the ball, and this is the time of year where things start changing, people are going to react off performance. And likewise, if you got a guy that you think you should sell and you think that, oh man, I'm on the fence with him, sell him right now. Because if he doesn't hit, he's going to get punished. And so my number one tip to listeners out there right now is if you're on the fence, you don't have conviction on the guy, at least trim positions. If you do have conviction on a guy, add a little bit of a position. And I just think that's where this is that rebalance time. And for me, that's what I'm doing with my baseball portfolio. I'm rebalancing.
Yeah, no, first off, I appreciate everybody and you guys too bearing with me on my rant this morning. I'm much happier now. I got one guy in mind that I'm not going to share, but I'll share his initials backwards that I like, and I'm looking to buy because I've been doing a lot of digging on this guy. His initials backwards are LT. Thank you. But I will not be sharing who.
LT.
But I will be buying. No, this is everybody. Enjoy this time. Baseball's up and running. Baseball's back, as Gary says, and it's fun. And it's fun checking these box scores every day, seeing the videos from the teams on Instagram, on Twitter. It's a fun time right now. The market is strong, so buy safely out there and sell smart.
Everybody, we really appreciate y'all listening to Kern's therapy session.
Yeah. What the hell's wrong with me today?
No, I love it, dude. It's so good, man. Thank y'all so much for checking out the Sports Card CEO. Again, leave us a review, share it with a friend, send us questions. Next episode, we have a really, really special guest on some very high-end auctions, some big boy cards that we're going to be highlighting here on the Sports Card CEO. So we're pumped about that.
There's about to be some hammers dropped here in the baseball world. So tune in next week with our special guest, because this is going to be a huge auction. I think he's going to sneak peek it a little bit on what's out there. You don't want to miss this one.
Next week's going to be a big one. So everybody, thanks so much for watching the Sports Card CEO, and we'll see you guys next week.